Most people are obsessed with mornings. Wake up at 5 a.m. Cold shower. Journal. Gym. Hustle. We've been told that if we could just win in the morning, we'd win in life. But what if your mornings aren't the problem? What if the real advantage happens hours earlier, when everyone else is mentally checked out? Think about how the average night ends. Phone in hand. Scrolling without thinking. One more episode. Random videos. Maybe a little stress about tomorrow. Then sleep comes, not as a decision, but as exhaustion. There's no plan. No reset. No intention. It feels harmless because it's normal. But normal rarely builds wealth. Now picture a different kind of evening. No dramatic rituals. No extreme discipline. Just deliberate closure. A few minutes to think. A few minutes to prepare. A few minutes to choose how tomorrow begins. Wealthy people don't treat nighttime as leftover hours. They treat it as leverage. Because the quality of your next day is decided before your head touches the pillow. The clarity they wake up with isn't accidental. The focus they carry into meetings isn't luck. The calm confidence in their decisions isn't random. It's engineered. Quietly. Privately. At night. Success isn't built at 5 a.m. It's prepared at 10 p.m. When you design your evening, you remove friction from your morning. When you clear your mind before bed, you wake up lighter. When you decide your top priority ahead of time, you don't waste energy choosing. That small shift compounds. One better morning turns into a better week. A better week turns into momentum. Tonight, you'll see why rich people win before they sleep. Because nighttime isn't downtime. It's positioning. And once you understand that, you'll start looking at your evenings very differently. Now that you see why night matters, let's talk about what most people are doing wrong. Let's be honest for a second. How do you usually end your day? Most ambitious people don't crash because they're lazy. They crash because they're tired. After work, responsibilities, messages, and constant decisions, you tell yourself, I deserve this. So you reach for your phone. Just a few minutes. A couple of videos. Maybe some scrolling to relax your mind. But your phone is quietly stealing your future. Not in one dramatic moment. Not in a way that feels dangerous. It happens in small doses. 10 minutes turn into 40. One episode becomes 3. You consume instead of closing the day with intention. Your brain jumps from one stimulus to another, chasing tiny hits of dopamine. It feels like decompression, but it's not real recovery. It's stimulation disguised as rest. There's nothing wrong with relaxing. The problem is unconscious relaxation. Strategic decompression calms your mind. Mindless scrolling keeps it alert and fragmented. And when you finally put the phone down, your head is full of noise, random opinions, news, comparisons, unfinished thoughts. You fall asleep mentally cluttered. Then morning comes. You wake up slightly foggy. You hesitate. You check your phone again before you even get out of bed. You start the day reacting instead of leading. It doesn't feel like a big deal, but over weeks and months, this pattern compounds. Wealth is rarely destroyed by one bad decision. It erodes through repeated low-value evenings. Sleeping without direction. Ending the day without reflection. Letting entertainment choose your emotional state. These habits don't look harmful, but they quietly shape your focus, your discipline, and your edge. And the hardest part? You know it. You feel that small discomfort when you glance at the clock and realize you've wasted another night. Good. That awareness isn't guilt. It's leverage. Now that the problem is clear, let's look at what wealthy individuals actually do differently. Rich people don't go to bed stressed. Not because their lives are simple, and not because they don't have pressure. They absolutely do. The difference is they don't carry that pressure into sleep. Most ambitious people lie down and their mind turns on. Emails replay. Conversations resurface. Deadlines feel heavier in the dark. You tell yourself you'll think about it tomorrow, but your brain doesn't listen. It keeps scanning for problems, trying to solve everything at once. That's not rest. That's unpaid overtime in your head. There's a simple fix. It takes 5 minutes, but it changes your next 10 hours. Before bed, grab a notebook. Not your phone. Not a mental note. Physically write. Ask yourself 3 questions. First, what's unfinished? List every open loop. Tasks, follow-ups, ideas you don't want to forget. Get them out of your head and onto paper. Second, what's bothering me? Any tension, worry, or unresolved situation. Write it down in plain language. When thoughts stay vague, they feel bigger. When you define them, they shrink. Third, what actually matters tomorrow? Choose the 1 to 3 outcomes that would make the day successful. Not a full to-do list. Just the real priorities. That's it. You're not solving everything. You're closing the mental tabs. When your brain sees that your thoughts are stored somewhere safe, it relaxes. Stress drops. Sleep deepens. You wake up clearer because your mind isn't trying to remember what it was afraid of forgetting. Clarity compounds like money. One night of mental shutdown gives you a sharper morning. A sharper morning leads to faster execution. Faster execution builds momentum. Instead of falling asleep in chaos, you fall asleep in control. With mental clutter cleared, the next step ensures tomorrow starts with precision. Decision fatigue is invisible, but it's expensive. Most people don't lose their day in the afternoon. They lose it in the first hour. You wake up and immediately start deciding. What should I work on first? Which email matters most? Should I go to the gym or skip it? What do I wear? Small choices stack up, and each one drains a little willpower. By the time it's 10 a.m., your mental energy is already leaking. Wealthy individuals remove that leak the night before. After clearing their mind, they design tomorrow. Not in a complicated way. Not with a color-coded planner and 50 tasks. They follow one simple principle, the top 1 priority rule. Before sleep, they decide the single most important outcome for the next day. If nothing else gets done, this must move forward. It's usually income-producing, strategic, or growth-focused. Not busywork. Not reactive tasks. The one thing that actually changes their position. Then they lock it in. They schedule when it will happen. They prepare anything needed for it. Documents open. Notes ready. Workspace cleared. Even clothes laid out if it removes friction. The goal is simple. When morning comes, action begins automatically. No hesitation. No debate. No scrolling to warm up. This tiny act protects the most valuable hours of the day. Instead of reacting to notifications, they attack what matters. And that's where wealth grows. Not from doing more things, but from doing the right thing first. When you predecide your priority, you conserve mental energy. You protect focus. You increase the chances that your best effort goes toward your highest return activity. 10 intentional minutes at night can save hours of drift the next day. You stop waking up confused and start waking up committed. Clarity is powerful, but the emotional state is even more critical. Your last input becomes tomorrow's mood. Most people don't realize this. They brush their teeth, get into bed, and scroll through headlines filled with conflict, crisis, and outrage. Or they replay a stressful conversation. Or they watch something intense right before sleeping. Then they wonder why they wake up slightly anxious, slightly irritated, slightly heavy. Your brain doesn't shut off at night. It organizes. It stores. It strengthens whatever emotions were most active before sleep. If your final hour is filled with tension, comparison, or noise, that's what gets reinforced. Ambitious people often underestimate this. They focus on skills, strategies, and tactics, but ignore emotional priming. Yet confidence, risk tolerance, and clear thinking all depend on emotional stability. If you wake up already stressed, you'll make safer decisions. You'll avoid bold moves. You'll hesitate in conversations that require certainty. Wealthy individuals protect their final inputs carefully. They limit exposure to negative media before bed. They avoid heated debates late at night. They don't let chaos be the last thing their mind consumes. Instead, they choose something intentional. It might be reading a few pages of a biography about someone who overcame adversity. It might be reviewing their long-term vision. It might be a short gratitude reflection to shift focus toward progress instead of problems. This isn't about toxic positivity. It's about emotional direction. When you end your night with calm, purpose, or inspiration, your brain encodes that state. You wake up grounded. You approach challenges with steadiness instead of urgency. Over time, this builds psychological resilience. And resilience is a financial advantage. It allows you to take calculated risks without panicking. Evenings are not just for entertainment. They are identity-shaping rituals. You may not control the entire day, but you can control how it ends. And that choice quietly shapes how the next one begins. Now that emotional state is controlled, we elevate identity itself. Rich people rehearse success privately. Not in front of a mirror. Not on social media. Quietly, in their own mind, before they sleep. Most entrepreneurs say they want confidence. They want certainty in meetings. They want to speak clearly, negotiate strongly, make bold decisions without second guessing. But internally, they feel inconsistent. Some days they're sharp. Other days they hesitate. That inconsistency isn't random. It's rarely trained. Here's the simple practice. 2 minutes before bed, close your eyes and mentally rehearse tomorrow as your higher self. Not the fantasy version with applause and perfect outcomes. The behavioral version. See yourself walking into that meeting calm and steady. Hear your voice speaking clearly. Imagine yourself pausing before responding instead of rushing. Picture choosing the disciplined option when faced with distraction. Visualize finishing your top one priority with focus. Keep it simple. Keep it realistic. Keep it specific. The brain does something powerful here. When you vividly imagine a behavior, it activates many of the same neural pathways as actually performing it. You're not just wishing. You're practicing. Over time, this reduces hesitation. Because when the moment arrives, it doesn't feel new. It feels familiar. You've already been there. This isn't about pretending to be someone else. It's about reinforcing who you're becoming. Each night, you step into the next version of yourself for a few quiet minutes. That repetition builds alignment. Alignment builds certainty. Certainty builds decisive action. Ambition stops being a distant goal and starts becoming a rehearsed identity. You fall asleep not just thinking about success, but embodying it. Mental clarity is in place. Emotional state is intentional. Identity is strengthened. Mental and emotional alignment complete. Now we address the body. Sleep deprivation lowers income. That sounds dramatic, but think about it. When you're tired, your thinking slows down. You reread the same email twice. You avoid difficult conversations. You choose easier tasks over meaningful ones. You react emotionally instead of strategically. None of that builds wealth. Hustle culture loves to glorify late nights. 4 hours of sleep. Grinding while everyone else rests. It sounds impressive. But chronic exhaustion doesn't create sharp entrepreneurs. It creates reactive ones. Your brain is your primary asset. And sleep is its maintenance. During deep sleep, your mind consolidates learning, organizes information, and restores emotional balance. Decision-making improves. Focus strengthens. Impulse control increases. These are not soft benefits. They directly affect negotiations, investments, leadership, and risk assessment. When you consistently cut sleep, executive function drops. That means weaker judgment, poorer timing, shorter patience. Over time, those small dips compound into missed opportunities and preventable mistakes. Wealthy individuals understand this. They don't treat sleep as passive rest. They treat it as strategic recovery. They aim for consistent sleep and wake times. They reduce blue light before bed. They create a wind-down rhythm instead of collapsing into exhaustion. Not because it feels luxurious, but because it protects performance. Burnout doesn't just feel bad. It's expensive. If you wake up drained, you spend the day managing fatigue instead of maximizing output. You need more caffeine, more stimulation, more effort just to reach baseline. That's not efficiency. That's survival. When you sleep well, you don't need to push as hard to produce at a high level. Your focus is cleaner. Your mood is steadier. Your thinking is sharper. You execute faster and recover quicker. Protect your sleep like it affects your revenue, because it does. Beyond sleep duration, environment plays a critical role. Discipline is easier when temptation is far. Most people think they lack willpower. They blame themselves for checking their phone in bed or staying up longer than planned. But look closer. The device is right next to you. Notifications are buzzing. The screen lights up the room. You're fighting constant stimulation in the exact place you're supposed to rest. That's not a discipline problem. That's a design problem. Wealthy individuals don't rely on heroic self-control at night. They design their environment so the default choice is the right one. One simple rule changes everything: the phone out of reach rule. Charge your phone outside the bedroom. Or at least across the room, nowhere near your bed. When your alarm goes off, you have to physically stand up to turn it off. No scrolling. No checking messages under the covers. No losing 20 minutes before your feet hit the floor. That single shift protects both your night and your morning. Next, adjust the lighting. Bright white lights signal alertness. Dim, warm light signals shutdown. Lower the intensity an hour before sleep. It sounds small, but your brain responds quickly to visual cues. Clear visual clutter as well. A messy bedside table keeps your mind subtly alert. A calm space signals safety and rest. You don't need a luxury bedroom. You need fewer triggers. Environment shapes behavior more than motivation ever will. If snacks are on your desk, you'll eat them. If your phone is in your hand, you'll scroll. If your room is dark, quiet, and simple, you'll wind down faster. These changes require almost no effort after they're set up. And that's the point. Consistency comes from reducing friction, not increasing pressure. Small environmental swaps can create massive long-term returns. With physical optimization complete, we move to compounding impact. One night won't change your life, but it changes tomorrow. And tomorrow is where momentum begins. Most people underestimate how fast behavior compounds. They think in extremes. Either nothing happens, or everything changes overnight. But real growth moves like a row of dominoes. The first tile falls quietly. The rest follow with increasing speed. When you clear your mind before bed, you wake up lighter. When you pre-decide your top priority, you start the day focused. When you control your emotional input, you wake up steady instead of scattered. When you sleep deeply, your thinking sharpens. Clarity improves focus. Focus improves execution. Execution improves results. Results improve confidence. Confidence is where things accelerate. After one well-designed night, you don't magically become wealthy. But you do experience a better morning. A better morning often leads to one meaningful task completed early. That small win changes your energy. You feel in control instead of behind. That feeling carries into your conversations, your decisions, your posture. That's the domino effect. The next night, it becomes easier to repeat the routine because you felt the difference. Within a week, your mornings feel structured. Within a month, your identity shifts slightly. You're no longer someone trying to be disciplined. You're someone who closes days intentionally. Wealthy individuals understand this principle deeply. Compounding isn't just about money in an account. It applies to energy, habits, emotional stability, and self-trust. Each well-executed night strengthens the next day. Each strong day reinforces the next night. You don't need a dramatic overhaul. You need a single controlled evening. And the best part? You don't have to wait. You can start tonight. Now we close with a powerful, immediate call to action. Let's make this simple. No complex system. No life overhaul. Just 20 intentional minutes tonight. Here's the blueprint. First 5 minutes, brain dump. Grab a notebook and write down everything unfinished. Tasks, worries, loose ends. Then circle the 1 to 3 things that actually matter tomorrow. Get the noise out of your head and onto paper. Close the mental tabs. Second 5 minutes, design tomorrow. Choose your top 1 priority. The task that moves your income, growth, or momentum forward. Decide exactly when you'll do it. Prepare for it. Lay out your clothes. Open the document. Clear your workspace. Remove friction before it appears. Third 5 minutes, emotional priming. No news. No random scrolling. Dim the lights. Read something purposeful. Reflect on progress. Think about one thing you're grateful for. Let calm, focus, or inspiration be the last emotion your brain absorbs. Final 5 minutes, identity rehearsal. Close your eyes and picture yourself executing tomorrow with clarity. See yourself focused. Hear yourself speaking confidently. Imagine finishing your priority early. Not fantasy. Behavior. Rehearse the version of you who handles the day well. Then protect your sleep. Phone out of reach. Lights low. Room cool and quiet. That's it. 20 minutes. You don't need motivation. You need structure. And this structure is quiet, simple, and powerful. No one will applaud you for it. No one will see it. But that's the point. Wealth often begins in invisible moments. In choices made when no one is watching. In preparation instead of performance. Your future self isn't built in public. It's built quietly. And tonight is one of those moments.